Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Samuel Akem here, and I'm back with another one. I appreciate you guys for tapping into another Akem'S analysis. It was a phenomenal second round of the FCS playoffs, and I cannot believe all the phenomenal games we got to see. Montana got the victory. Montana State got the close victory against Yale. North Dakota State. My goodness, we will definitely talk about that one. The Bison got upset at home. It was a phenomenal game. I cannot believe we are talking about a North Dakota State upset in the FCS playoffs. We're going to talk about it all. We are going to talk about it all. But first things first, same game parlay is now available with Sportsbet Montana. The wait is over. You can now stack your favorite picks from the same game into one parlay bet. Choose from money lines, player props, point spreads, totals, and more. If all your picks hit, you score big. How to bet. Navigate the football, basketball, or hockey, select more wagers, and turn the same game parlay toggle on. Build your same game parlay with up to 15 pregame markets. View them in the same game parlay section of your bet slip. Enter your wager amount and place your bet. Sportsbet Montana is the official betting partner of Akem'S Analysis and the Samuel Akem YouTube channel. They are also Montana's exclusive sportsbook, so make sure you guys go check out Sportsbet Montana for all your sports betting needs in the state of Montana. Sportsbet Montana, your game, your bets, your state, powered by the Montana Lottery. We're going to be recapping every single game from week 2, round 2 of the FCS playoffs. So make sure you guys hit the like button. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. Make sure you guys leave me a comment down below, and we will get straight into it. Okay, first things first, we're talking about Montana State versus Yale. We will get into that NDSU versus Illinois State game in a second. Trust me, we will get into that. But this was probably one of the worst games of the season that Montana State has played. Obviously, Yale was a formidable opponent. They just beat a very good Youngstown State squad. Although that Youngstown State squad had 5 losses on the season, they were a very formidable opponent. They had a very good quarterback. Shutting him down was no easy task, and I think they brought that energy and that confidence that they had into Bozeman to face against the Bobcats. What I think really led Montana State to get the victory in this game was the consistent run game that they had. And I'm looking at my notes and I'm just realizing, I was like, why am my notes are off. But the consistent run game was really what led them to win this game. Caden Dowler, man, I put my hands up, Caden. I put my hands up. I'm a fan. I'm just genuinely a fan. And given what he has been through in his career, given all the troubles that he's been through in terms of injuries, season-ending injuries, he hasn't been able to see the field, and he's had to sit on the sidelines and watch his brother absolutely ball out. He's watched his brother become an All-American. He's watched maybe his brother's, I don't know if Taco Dollar's been an All-American, but he's watched his brother become an All-Conference guy. He's watched his brother become a conference champion, and he's watched his brother be an integral part of a conference championship, national champion contender team, and he had to sit on the sidelines. Caden Dowler, 5 interceptions in his last 4 games, 2 for pick sixes. I mean, Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year, first team All-Conference guy. I am a genuine fan, and he continues to make big plays for this Montana State defense. I am going to go on a limb and say Caden Dowler right now for me is the best safety in FCS football. You cannot deny what he has done. You cannot deny what type of talent he brings to the table. Dude, on the interception he made this weekend, man coverage, it might have been zone, but he played the zone beautifully. He carried the number 2 receiver down the field. The quarterback Dante Reno tried to fit it in the hole in the window on the seam. Caden Dowler said absolutely not, undercut the ball. And some people can say previous interceptions, tipped passes. The one against UC Davis was really good one. The second one against UC Davis was really good. A couple of them were on tip passes though. This one was all him, all man coverage. His guy, maybe zone. I haven't really looked back at the play too much. I just looked at his rep, and it looked like number one-on-one with the number 2 receiver, made a great break on the ball to undercut the receiver and make the interception, then took it back for about 20-25 yards. Really good play from Caden Dowler. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. Yale was able to battle in this game, but they didn't have enough offense to get it done in the end. They kind of tried to make it close late where they were getting some really big stops. Montana State was not able to move the ball. Justin Lamson was 10 for 16 for 92 yards. The biggest difference in this game, the run game was consistent. Adam Jones, give credit to him. Julius Davis had a really good game. He was able to run the ball consistently, but the downfield passing game for Montana State did not show up. From what I heard, this game started the exact same time as the Montana game started, and you guys know I cover Montana State. I'm in person for all their games, so a lot of times that throws off me being able to watch a lot of the games. So I have to go back and watch a lot of the games, but from what I was understanding, the Montana State offense just was not as clean as it has been. And, you know, when you just saw the game they recently played against Montana, that's probably the cleanest game they played all year. No turnovers, you know, consistently moving the ball on the ground. Justin Lamson was very clean, 18 for 20. Really only missed one throw. The one that was the second one that was missed was a drop from Dane Steele. So they played a phenomenal game. The receivers did not have a big game. I think the leading receiver had like 40 receiving yards, maybe 30 receiving yards. The downfield passing game just wasn't there. Montana State was not great on third down. Yale was able to keep them guessing and cause them some fits late in the game. That's what really allowed Yale to keep it close. But it was the downfield passing game, you know. But the run game, the credit to Montana State being able to lean on the run game, that really ended up being the biggest difference for them. They had over 200 rushing yards in this game, and it ended up winning them the game. Adam Jones, 18 carries, 170 yards. 107 yards, 1 touchdown, 5.9 yards a carry. On the other side of things, the Yale playmakers made plays, man. They just didn't make enough plays. Dante Reno was 20 for 35, 57% completion percentage, 198 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. We'll talk about that in a second. Josh Pitzenberger had 26 carries, 124 yards, and a touchdown. He averaged 4.8 yards a carry. Not great there, but still a solid game from Josh Pitzenberger, the Yale or the Ivy League Offensive Player of the Year. And then Nico Brown had 11 receptions, 107 yards, and a touchdown, 9.7 yards a carry. So a lot of short completions for him. But 2 interceptions for Dante Reno. I talked about this in the Montana game in the Brawl of the Wild, and I talk about it in every game in the playoffs. It rings so true, and which is so crazy why Illinois State was able to win yesterday, because you don't do that against a number 1 seed and win usually. But credit to them. But you can't turn over the ball, especially in a game like this where you have a genuine chance to win the game. Like if it's a blowout and you're turning over the ball, that's just going to make it worse for you. But when it's a game where you're like the teams are very evenly matched, you cannot turn over the ball. You have to play clean. And Yale didn't necessarily do that. You know, Yale didn't necessarily do that. And it kind of puzzled me a little bit, man. Like, not that it puzzled me. But it just that is what leads to wins and losses in the playoffs. You pay double for turnovers in the playoffs, and Dante Reno had 2 detrimental interceptions that, you know, might be the biggest difference in this game. You look at the score, you look at the numbers. You know, Dante Reno didn't have terrible numbers. He wasn't incredibly efficient, but he wasn't bad as well. Josh Pitzenberger had a good day on the ground. Nico Brown, you had a 100-yard receiver. I mean, you have all the means there to turn this game into a win. I think if Dante Reno turns up his completion percentage a little bit better in the 65 to 70% range and cuts down those interceptions, I think he has a really, really good chance to win this, to bring Yale out of this game with the victory. But Montana State gets the victory, coming off of a bye week, coming off of a championship. You know, they might have had a little lull. Recently, there was rumored that their head coach might have been taking another job. He ended up staying, but you know, maybe some of those things led to the inconsistency in the game for the Bobcats in this one, but they got the victory. You know, survive in advance is the core tenet of the playoffs. You got to survive in advance. You don't really put too much stock into how you made it happen. Just credit to the fact that you made it happen. You know, all the fans online are going to talk about, oh man, we looked bad. We didn't have a good game. This is probably the sloppiest game they played all season, all this stuff. And they didn't really turn over the ball. I think they did have a fumble. I think Justin Lamson had a fumble, but I don't think they were extremely sloppy. I just don't think it looked good. I don't think they were clean offensively. I don't think they executed at a high level. And I just think it was ugly. And that happens. You know, teams happen like that, but you can't sit on this too much if you're a Montana State fan or player, or if you're an admin or anybody, you know, because you advance. That's all. The only goal you have was to win. You know, go 1-0 each week, and that's been a really big point at Montana State is 1-0. But go 1-0 each week, because at this point, you can't harp. I mean, obviously, you want to learn from your mistakes. And you want to be better. You don't want to make the same mistakes in the quarterfinals as you did in the second round. But it's credit to them for able to get the win, and that's what you should focus on in the playoffs, is to getting the win. One question I had is for you guys, and you guys can leave me a comment in the comment section. Do you guys think this was good Yale or bad MSU? I lean towards saying it was bad Montana State. Obviously, Yale was able to do some things to make it close in the end, but I think if Montana State really takes care of business, it's a moot point. I don't think Yale is really in this game. They were a 23.5 point, or I think Montana State, Thursday when I made my video, Montana State was a 28.5 point favorite. They opened up as 22.5 point favorite. So like, they're heavily favored in this game. They were heavily favored in this game. They were supposed to win by multiple scores. But in a game like this, when you're not your cleanest, when you give that team some extra opportunities, they can make it close. Another thing happened in this game that we cannot shy away from talking about. Julius Davis and Brent Vegan got into a back and forth after the game. From what I understand from Julius Davis's statement, Brent Vegan, I don't think talked about it in his post-game presser, but from what I understand, what happened was Julius Davis was trying to talk to a former player. For some reason, whatever reason, Brent Vegan was trying to get him to the middle of the field. I think the rest of the team was there where they were kneeling down, and I think they do the Lord's Prayer. I think a lot of teams do that. We used to do the Lord's Prayer after the game. But they bring everybody up to the middle of the field. I think Brent Vegan was trying to get him to come over there. For some reason, Julius Davis didn't appreciate that. He was very angry, very demonstrative, and him and Brent Vegan were going back and forth. He actually ended up shoving Brent Vegan and pushing him off, walking away from him. And in his statement after the game, he said, a lot of people don't understand me and Brent Vegan's relationship. They don't understand the amount of respect I have for him. And I hear that. I 100% hear that. I will say, in response to you saying people don't understand how much respect we have for Coach Vegan, if that is the case, you need to show that. I would say, just as an outside observer looking at that play, in that instance, it didn't look like he had a ton of respect for Brent Vegan. Walking away from him, pushing him, putting hands on him, all that stuff. That's your head coach. If you have respect, you got to show that at all moments. And I know everybody has bad moments. If people caught me at my worst moments, I probably wouldn't be super proud of it either. So, Julius Davis, credit to him. A lot of times, and man, this kid, he's a young kid. I mean, he's 23, 24, I'm sure, 22, 23, 24. Credit to Julius Davis for... Man, he didn't even wait 24 hours. He didn't even wait 12 hours. It was like 2 or 3 hours after the game. He posted a statement, got right ahead of it. And I'm sure Brent Vegan was in his ear, Bill Lamberty, Leon Costello, probably his dad as well, were in his ear telling him, hey, man, we got to say something. We got to do something. This is not a good look. And we won. They won that game. They won that game, and that's how he was acting. So, not a good look, but credit to Julius Davis for immediately getting behind it and posting the statement and saying, hey, I messed up. He was he held himself accountable. He did let people, like in the statement he mentioned, people don't know the type of respect, type of relationship. We all hear that. But what people want to hear really is the accountability. And that's what Julius Davis did. He said, hey, this cannot happen. It's absolutely unacceptable. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. You guys can go look at the statement, but this can't happen. I got a little bit too much. I did too much, and I apologize. I'll be better. And I appreciate that. I'm with that. I hear that, and I appreciate him posting the statement because it wasn't a good look. It wasn't a good look, especially after a win, especially given all the things that have gone on with your head coach. People are going to start speculating, this is national television now. You guys are playing on TV. It's the playoffs. People are seeing you. That clip was going all across the internet. It's not a good look for Montana State, especially considering what had happened the week before when your coach almost took another head coaching job. That'll create speculation. That'll create talk. Oh, it's not great in the locker room, this and that. Just take care of things on the field. Good job for Julius Davis to be able to post a statement. Good job for Montana State for being able to get the win. You guys let me know what you thought about this game. What did you guys think Montana State did well? What did you guys think they didn't do well? Leave me a comment down below, and I will move on. We cheered with you all season. Now it's time to put a ring on it. L&M Fine Jewelry in Missoula and Kalispell, where Big Sky fans find the perfect engagement ring. L&M Fine Jewelry is the official jeweler of Akem'S Analysis and the Samuel Akem YouTube channel. Make sure you guys go check out L&M Fine Jewelry when you're trying to buy that special ring for that special person. On Main Street in Kalispell and American Way in Missoula, they are the official jeweler of the Akem'S Analysis and Samuel Akem YouTube channel. So make sure you guys go check them out. L&M Fine Jewelry, your diamond destination. Okay, North Dakota State versus Illinois State. Illinois State got the victory. This is one of the weirdest victories I've ever seen in my life, especially against a number 1 seed, man. Illinois State turned over the ball 5 times. 5 interceptions, count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Usually in a game when a quarterback throws 2 interceptions, you're like, oh man, we should win this game. 5? He throws 5 interceptions. You're the number 1 seed. Wire to wire, basically, you've been the number 1 team in FCS football. You're the defending national champions, and you lose a game where you get 5 turnovers? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Cole Payton chose a terrible, absolutely terrible time to have his worst game of the season. He was 4 for 12, 33% completion percentage. His only good pass completion was to Bryce Lance on a out and up. On the first play of the game where he scored a touchdown, their first offensive play of the game. He had 101 yards, 1 touchdown. He was knocked out of the game with a hand injury. Bryce Lance had 1 reception, 78 yards, and a touchdown. Tommy Rittenhouse threw the ball 52 times. He was 35 for 52, 67% completion percentage, 249 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Victor Dawson was good on the ground, 23 carries, 137 yards, 1 touchdown. He had like a long 69-yard touchdown run that was really broke the game open for Illinois State and started them got them on the board. He had a touchdown, 6 yards per carry. And then Daniel Sobkowitz had 3 touchdowns on 8 receptions, 67 yards. Sobkowitz has been a red zone demon. I believe, I can't remember exactly how many touchdowns Sobkowitz had last week. Actually, let me scroll up because I have the numbers in here. Give me just a second. I'll tell you exactly how many yards Sobkowitz had. Sela. Daniel Sobkowitz, he didn't have a touchdown last week. He had 8 receptions, 89 yards, 11.1 yards a catch. No touchdowns last week. But he had a phenomenal game. He's making plays for Tommy Rittenhouse when he needs them. Tommy Rittenhouse made some big throws in this game. Their tight end, Preston. It's Preston. I'm forgetting his first name, but Preston Jr. made some big plays. The 2-point conversion. He caught a seam. He caught a couple of seams. Tommy Rittenhouse, man, he made some throws in this game. Some big throws in this game. This was a phenomenal game from Illinois State. But I would definitely say NDSU lost this game. A lot of times people talk about, oh, did this team win the game? Did this team lose the game? Illinois State, 5 interceptions. Illinois State did absolutely everything they could to lose this game. They did absolutely everything they could to help NDSU win this game. NDSU did not want to take this game for Illinois State. They're like, are you guys sure? We're going to win. Are you sure you want us to win? Like, we're about to win. If you keep giving us the ball, we are going to win. But Illinois State ended up making the plays. They got a turnover when they needed it late in the game. That's another thing, too. So North Dakota State, Barika Pinu had a fumble earlier in the game. And then the fumble late was the difference. North Dakota State had 2 turnovers in this game, 2 fumbles. Barika Pinu fumbled. I think it was in the second half. And then Cole Payton fumbled after Illinois State made it 21-28. And man, although Illinois State had 5 interceptions, those 2, and that's the thing. That's why I always say every turnover is not created equal. Tommy Rittenhouse had 3 turnovers in the first half. They were only down 14-7 or 21-14 at half. I think it was 20. Man, what was the halftime score? Let me look real quick. They were down. It was 21-14 at half. Yeah, so they were down 21-14 at half. But like I said, they're down by 7 at half after turning the ball over 3 times. Every turnover is not created equal. That turnover by Cole Payton, when they're up by 7 in their own side of the field, with 2 minutes to go in the game, about 2 minutes, 3 minutes to go in the game, that is significantly more detrimental than any of the interceptions Tommy Rittenhouse had. Tommy Rittenhouse didn't have an interception in the fourth quarter. I don't think. I think his last interception was late in the third quarter. You guys may be able to correct me on if I'm wrong. But Tommy Rittenhouse was clean late in the game, and that's the point I'm trying to make. Every turnover is not created equal. That Cole Payton strip sack is more detrimental than any fumble, any interception Illinois State had. They fumble that. Illinois State gets the ball in their in a plus side of the field, and they end up throwing the touchdown to, I think that was when Sobkowitz caught the scramble touchdown on 4th and goal on that one, and then they went for the 2-point conversion. We're the unseeded team. We're the lower seed. It's either now or never. We're gonna win now or we're not gonna win. And they win. They won. They went for 2. They got it to Preston Jr., and he caught the ball on the spot route. This is another reason why people always say, although NDSU has been probably an exception to the rule, this is why people always say it's hard to beat the same team twice. It is incredibly hard to beat the same team twice. You know, you have to be clean. You know, they know everything you're going to do. They know how to game plan against you better. You know, when you beat a team once, it's like you're not going to be able to draw up 1,000 new plays to be able to beat this team. You're going to have to be clean. You're going to have to be efficient. You're going to have to not turn over the ball because they know you. They know what you like to do. They know your tendencies at this point, and they're keyed in on it now. They've already had another week where they game planned about you all week. Now you give them another week where they're going to be playing against you again. It's just tough to beat the same team twice. So credit to Illinois State. This has to be the biggest upset in college football history. Not college football history. It's definitely the biggest upset in the 2025 football season in all of college football. One of the biggest upsets in college football history. It's got to be top 5 up there. I mean, this was the number 1 seed wire to wire. They were heavy favorites to repeat as champions. They were 24.5-point favorites in this game alone. And, you know, Illinois State got the job done. They won by 1. They covered. If anybody took Illinois State in this game, they probably hit big. Depending on how much money you put on the game. But, I mean, man, credit to Illinois State and the Redbirds. Credit to Coach Niekamp, my former coach at Montana. Also, Coach Nicholson, my former strength coach at Illinois State. Just really good. And then you see Illinois State trolling on the internet. I mean, the trolls, the social media admin for some of these schools have gotten so good. I love the fact that they troll. I love the fact that they poke jabs at the teams that they just beat. I mean, I love that. That's college football, man. It's college football is the greatest sport ever invented. I love everything about the smack talking. To the victor goes the spoils. If you don't want the social media page to be posting bad things about you, make sure you win that game. credit to Illinois State. They got the big time victory, upset victory, and I'm just happy for him, man. I'm just extremely happy for him. And also, obviously, this leaves the door open for a lot of teams. You get to see, we're going to have the other reason, and it's not necessarily like that I'm happy to see NDSU lose, because obviously I love seeing good football. I love seeing how dialed they are all the time. But this gives you a chance to talk about something new for the national championship. For the first time in recent history, there's not going to be any North Dakota State. There's not going to be any South Dakota State. There's going to be new blood on that side of the bracket that Illinois State is on. It's Villanova, Illinois State, UC Davis, and Tarleton State. All new blood. You got Montana State, South Dakota, and Stephen F. Austin on our side, on the right side of the bracket with Montana State. But I mean, it's going to be extremely fun. It's going to be extremely fun seeing who comes out with the national championship. But you guys let me know what you thought about this NDSU versus Illinois State game. What was the biggest difference maker in this game to you guys? You guys let me know in the comment section down below, and I will move on.
Get ready, Montana. Place bets on your favorite teams and games with Sportsbet Montana. With over 500 locations statewide, it's never been easier to get in on the action. Choose from spreads, money lines, parlays, and more. Excitement? You bet. Action? You bet. Winning? You bet. Visit sportsbetmontana.com or download the app now. Sportsbet Montana, Montana's exclusive sportsbook.
Okay, UC Davis versus Rhode Island. Caden Pennick, boy, you better stop, man. You better stop. No, don't stop. Continue. Caden Pennick. 17 for 29, 59% completion percentage. I put 50 on here. Absolutely not 50. 59% completion percentage, 277 yards through the air, 5 passing touchdowns. I'm not done. 15 carries, 99 yards, 6.6 yards a carry. Caden Pennick, boy, hey, we'll get into it in a second. Jordan Fisher, 16 carries, 140 yards and a touchdown, 8.8 yards a carry. And then Samuel Batu, 4 receptions, 121 yards and a touchdown, 30.3 yards a catch. We'll get into the Rhode Island players' stats in a second. But both teams were trading haymakers in the first half, man. Like, Rhode Island made some big plays. Their running back, Antoine Littleton Jr. Is it junior or is it just Antoine Littleton? Antoine Littleton had a big run. I think there's a junior on it. I don't know. Antoine Littleton had a big run. Marquise Buchanan hit a big post over the top. I mean, URI was showing why they have one of the top offenses in FCS football, and they were just making plays. Caden Pennick had thrown an interception. Outside of the interception in the first quarter, he looked good as well. He was making plays, and he was really hurting this Rhode Island team with his legs. They had nothing for him. Him with his legs, I mean, he was giving them fits all over the place. They were not, maybe they were putting on a spy. It didn't matter. Caden Pennick was making things happen with his legs. He looked phenomenal. He played a really good game. And one thing for UC Davis, all of their big players in this game played big. Samuel Batu, Caden Pennick, Jordan Fisher. They all had big games. Defensively, their all-conference corner was all over the place. And this was a game, a tale of two halves for Rhode Island. Rhode Island came out in the first half. They looked really good. They were moving the ball. They were making things happen, making plays. They looked like they were gonna I don't know, not really run away with it, but they were looking like it was going to be a shootout. It was looking like that UC Davis was going to have to continue to put up points to make this game what it was going to be. They came out with some phenomenal second half adjustments, and they shut Rhode Island down. Rhode Island didn't score a touchdown in the second half until late in the fourth quarter, but for much of the second half, UC Davis was in full control of the game, and they made life hard on Rhode Island. They made life hard. Their quarterback, Devin Farrell couldn't really get anything going. Marquise Buchanan was really shut down in the second half. The running game with Antoine Littleton was really shut down. Credit to UC Davis. They played well, and this is a team where offensively, UC Davis is going to be able to do what it do. But defensively, it's always been a question mark. They dealt with a lot of injuries this year. Sam Goligoski was getting to the quarterback. Jacob Syke was making play, or I don't even know if I remember seeing Jacob Syke a lot, but I know Sam Goligoski was making plays. The D-line for South Dakota or UC Davis was making some big plays in this game, and they made it happen, man. They made it happen, and this was a phenomenal game. Rhode Island had a big turnover in the third quarter, and UC Davis made them pay. I believe they either threw an interception or they fumbled the ball. I can't remember exactly. I don't have the stats pulled up. I should have the stats pulled up. Was it an interception? No, it wasn't an interception. I think it was a fumble. Somebody fumbled, and UC Davis immediately drove down the field and scored. The halftime score, I think, in this game was 20-18, I think was the halftime score. So very close, very back and forth. And then in the second half, I think UC Davis started with the ball. I think they drove down. I can't remember who started with the ball, but I remember the second half, UC Davis was putting up points. The end score was 47-26. So Rhode Island only put up 6 points in the second half. UC Davis put up a ton of points in the second half, almost 30 points in the second half. They were just, hey, they could do no wrong. Caden Pennick was making all the best throws, was making it look easy, man. With his legs, he was able to move the chains. The run game with Jordan Fisher. Jordan Fisher had a big run. Man, it looked really good. The offense looked really good. Caden Pennick using his legs was something that hurt URI the entire game. UC Davis's offense is so good they're able to score on anyone. URI's offense couldn't do anything in the second half. Caden Pennick made some really big goals. One thing I noticed in this game, that Samuel, and I've noticed it throughout a lot of the season, the Samuel Batu and Caden Pennick connection has been strong, man. Has been really, really strong. They've been making a lot of plays. You can see that they got that synergy. You can see, they talked about in the broadcast, Batu's thinking about coming back next year, as well as Caden Pennick. He's only redshirt freshman. So they've been playing well, and they look really good. Rhode Island's offense was good in the first half, but they were nearly shut out in the second half outside of the trash time TD in the end. This is the second season in a row that Rhode Island has been extremely talented, but hasn't been able to get over the top. To talk about that talent, Devin Farrell, 22 of 40, 55% completion percentage, 294 yards, 2 touchdowns. Marquise Buchanan had 5 receptions, 113 yards and a touchdown, 22.6 yards of reception. I think Marquise Buchanan was a senior, so it'll be interesting to see how he pans out in the NFL draft. I think he had like 1,300, 1,400 yards on the season. He's a big slot receiver that plays in the slot a lot, so it'll be interesting to see what teams think about him. Antoine Littleton, 16 carries, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns on 7.7 yards a carry. Statistically, their big players played pretty big. Devin Farrell wasn't as efficient as you would like him to be. You want your quarterbacks, especially in the playoffs, to be around 65-70% completion percentage. Montana's quarterback yesterday was at 78%, so you want your quarterbacks to be high completion percentage. UC Davis gets a rematch against Illinois State, who they beat last year, with a chance to go to the semifinals on the line. Given all the injuries and adversity they faced this year, Coach Tim Plow deserves a ton of credit for where he has gotten this team. We have to give credit to Coach Tim Plow. They've dealt with a lot of injuries. They lost their All-American safety and Rex Connors. They lost a bunch of other players on their defense. They lost some offensive players. Carter Vargas is out for the season. He's actually in the transfer portal, or he's going in the transfer portal on January 2nd. Man, Tim Plow has done an amazing job. Amazing coaching job. Got a seed. A lot of people were doubting that they were supposed to be the 8th seed. They went out and showed that, no, we are truly the number 8 seed, and this is why. And just credit to them, man. Credit to them. If UC Davis can continue to dominate teams offensively, they're going to be a hard team to beat. Their defense played well enough. Their offense was executing at an extremely high level. They are going to be a really, really hard team to beat if they can continue to play this way. They just are. They're good. They got a good quarterback. They got a good running back. They got good receivers. I mean, they're extremely talented. They're extremely well coached. And at the end of the day, that is what wins in the playoffs, is coaching and talent. I mean, obviously coaching is a big piece of it. Talent, development in the trenches is big, but I mean, UC Davis has a really good chance to be a tough out in this FCS playoffs. So you guys let me know what you thought about this UC Davis versus Rhode Island game. What did you like about UC Davis? What did you like about Rhode Island? What did you not like from UC Davis? I didn't like the interception from Caden Pennick. He just completely didn't see the defensive back and threw a bad interception. This game might have been more one-sided. Had he not thrown that interception, they might have gotten in the end zone in that drive. But you guys let me know what you thought about this game, and I will move on. Okay, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this game. The reason for that is because, we're not going to waste a lot of time on blowouts. But I do have some things I would like to say about this game. I'm pulling up the numbers right now because I wrote down the big stats from some of the big stat getters, but I don't have them all on here. So I want to have all the numbers in front of me. But Mercer, man. Mercer. What are we doing? What are we doing? South Dakota was the 11th seed. Mercer was the 6th seed, and they got shut out. Mercer did not score a point in the FCS playoffs. In the 2025 FCS playoffs, as the number 6 seed, Mercer did not score a point. And this is what I was talking about, man. This is what I was talking about. Mercer is good. I thought Mercer was great. But, man, I wasn't sold. The second best team in their conference was Western Carolina. And Western Carolina, I think, finished at 6-6 or maybe 7-5. They weren't great. Western Carolina wasn't great this year. They had a really, really good quarterback, but they weren't great. Mercer got into a shootout with that Western Carolina team. Mercer got into an absolute shootout. They won 49-47. Both quarterbacks had over like 300, 400 passing yards. Braden Atkinson and the quarterback Teron Dickens for Western Carolina. I mean, it was a crazy game. It was a big back and forth game. And you see the numbers statistically, Mercer looked like they had one of the top defenses in FCS football. But then when you look at the game, you look at how the game worked out, you're like, this isn't one of the top defenses. Now, granted, they're playing one of the top quarterbacks in FCS football, but still, you're like, this is what you've been telling me about all season? They barely won the game. And then another thing that I keyed on with this Mercer team was the loss to Presbyterian. They lost to a Presbyterian team that, although being 10-2, only 2 losses came within the conference to subpar teams in the Pioneer League Conference. You lost to that team. And they didn't even make the playoffs. I think they should have, but they didn't make the playoffs. And you lost to them. And you think you're going to come in and play an MVFC team? I mean, and this is when you really get to just get to see how good the MVFC is, South Dakota started off terrible this season. They got good and finished off the season strong, beat some ranked opponents late in the season. South Dakota, North Dakota, Southern Illinois, they got some big wins late in the season. They got into the playoffs, they got into the tournament, and everything else is, once you get into the tournament, you anything can happen. They did that, and they're really imposing their will. LJ Phillips has been running the ball really, really well. Aiden Bauman is playing his best ball at the best time of the season, throwing the ball really, really well. LJ Phillips, giving them the ability to run the ball is something else that really helps them. This was considered one of, if not the top rushing defense in the FCS. I'm actually scroll up to my notes and see where I had this run defense at of Mercer. I think that was one of the last games I talked about last week. Maybe it was one of the early games I talked about. Where is their numbers at? Mercer had the number 4 rushing defense in the country coming into this game. And South Dakota had the number 26 rushing offense coming into this game. So Mercer, one of the top rushing defenses in the country, gave up 300 rushing yards to this South Dakota team. That is crazy. They gave up 300 rushing yards to South Dakota. 300 rushing yards. Absolutely cannot happen. I mean, Mercer just got hit in the mouth. Mercer absolutely just got hit in the mouth. Aiden Bauman, 13 for 18, 72% completion percentage, 241 yards, 2 touchdowns. LJ Phillips, 16 carries, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns, 10 yards a carry. Carson Fletcher, 13 carries, 170 yards, 8.2 yards a carry. And then Lorenzo Fenner, 4 receptions, 100 yards, 1 touchdown, 25 yards a catch. They had another receiver, Tyson Bowes, 2 receptions, 108 yards, and a touchdown. Man, Lorenzo Fenner, I am a big fan. Lorenzo Fenner is a bona fide star and is a matchup nightmare for almost any DB in FCS college football. Lorenzo Fenner has come on great for this South Dakota team. Exactly when they needed a big receiver to start making some big plays, Lorenzo Fenner emerged as a dog for this Coyotes team. He has been playing really, really well, and I'm a big fan, man. I'm a big fan to be able to get to cover him in when he comes to Missoula this week. But, man, Lorenzo Fenner, bona fide star. I'm a fan. Mercer's numbers were good within their conference, but when you measure them up against their cross-conference peers, they are outmatched. Although they had some top national numbers, although they looked really good in the SoCon, everybody has thought that the SoCon was not very strong this year. You look at the Western Carolina, you look at the Woffords, you look at some of the teams within their conference, Furman. There's no really stars in that conference. Mercer won by way of just being the best out of the worst. But are they really that good either? I don't know about that. And that was really proven on Saturday when they got beat down by the number 11 seed. They're the 6th seed. They got a bye week. They're just coming off a bye where they've been resting, where they got to have Thanksgiving with their family. They didn't have to practice over Thanksgiving, all that stuff. And they got beat down, man. Like, it cannot happen. I just don't understand. Mercer had the number 1 rushing defense in FCS coming into this game. This truly shows the disparity between MVFC and the SoCon. That is. South Dakota might end up being maybe the second best team in the Missouri Valley from the 2025 season. When you look back on it, like revisionist history, you might say, oh, South Dakota was the number 2 team in that conference. They beat South Dakota State. South Dakota State's no longer in the tournament. Illinois State's in the tournament. I don't think they played Illinois State. But North Dakota State's out of the tournament. Obviously North Dakota State won the conference. I think South Dakota was right there. They beat North Dakota. They beat South Dakota State. Those are the 2 other teams. It's really South Dakota that's right there. But they were the second best team in the Missouri Valley, and they just beat down on the SoCon champ. The SoCon champ did not score a point on the second best team in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. If that doesn't tell you where the state of FCS football is, where the state of some of these conferences is, I don't know what else. Mercer confirmed what everyone already thought about the SoCon this year. They are not good. I don't want to belabor the point. Braden Atkinson, a young quarterback, hopefully he stays at Mercer. He's had a good career so far this year. He's the Jerry Rice Award winner. So, and maybe that was something. about it. You know, a lot of these guys just got all conference recognition. A lot of these guys just got national recognition. Maybe they were, you know, blowing their head up a little bit, thinking they were better than they were. They got smacked in the mouth by a South Dakota team that was ready for all of it, and they got proven wrong. So you guys let me know what you thought about the South Dakota versus Mercer game. I didn't want to spend too much time on it, but I know, you know, obviously it matters, and it was a big time win for the Yotes. But they will come to Missoula on Saturday on ABC for a big time game on 1:30 Mountain Time. So you guys let me know what you thought about the South Dakota Mercer game, and I will move on. Okay, excuse my voice. Sam Vidlak got his first playoff victory. I don't think they made the playoffs last year. Sam Vidlak got his first playoff victory as a starter at Stephen F. Austin. He was big. He was, man, I'm such a fan of Sam Vidlak. He was at Montana. I was able to create a relationship with him back when he was at Montana. I was still playing professional football, so he would throw routes to me a lot of times when we had time. And I wanted to see him do well at Montana. Obviously, it didn't work out at Montana. He ended up transferring away, and it has been the best change for his career that he could possibly make. Transferred from Montana in 2023, was the Southland Conference Newcomer of the Year in the 2024 season. 2025, he's the Southland Conference Offensive Player of the Year. They win the Southland Conference outright. They get a top 8 seed, an 11-win season, and he takes his team to the quarterfinals. Hey, Sam Vidlak, great freaking job, man. Great freaking job. Big fan of what you've been able to do at Stephen F. Austin. I love the fact that, you know, it didn't work out. It didn't work out at Boise State. It didn't work out at Montana. It didn't work out at some of the previous spots he had been to. He finally finds a spot where, you know, the coach, he likes the coach. He likes the situation around him. He's got his family with him, and he balls out, man. Absolutely balled out. I love what I've been seeing from Sam Vidlak. I'm so happy for him, and I'm excited to see what he's able to do in Montana State. Because if I'm not mistaken, somebody mentioned something about there was a late cancellation of Stephen F. Austin and Montana State. Montana State and Stephen F. Austin were supposed to play, I think, in 2024. That's why Montana State played Mercyhurst. Stephen F. Austin, from what I understand, canceled that game late. They ended up getting Mercyhurst on the schedule. But Sam Vidlak gets a chance to come up to Montana State and play the Bobcats. He gets a really big chance to come up to Montana State and play the Bobcats. It is going to be a phenomenal game. But they beat Abilene Christian. They avenged their only loss from the regular season. They beat Abilene Christian and move on to the quarterfinals. Sam Vidlak threw for over 350 yards in this game, and he showed me, because I thought that if Stephen F. Austin were to win this game, they were going to win it on the back of their defense. It was 41-31. They won it on the back of their offense. Obviously, their defense made plays when they had to make plays. They got an interception and things like that. I think there was no fumbles. There was just an interception by Abilene Christian, and that was really the difference in the game. Stone Earl's lone interception was really the difference. They lost by 7, and that interception was I mean, you look at the turnovers. You pay double for turnovers in the playoffs, and that rang true in this game. Sam Vidlak was 26 for 35, 74% completion percentage, 357 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Kylan Harris, 11 receptions, 183 yards through the air, 1 touchdown, 16.6 yards a catch. And then you got Stone Earl, was 19 for 36, 53% completion percentage, 206 yards, no touchdowns, but he did have an interception. And then Jordan Vaughn, my goodness. I became a fan of Jordan Vaughn last year in that North Dakota State game in the playoffs where he had a really long, like 60, 70-yard touchdown. He had 10 carries, 100 yards, 3 touchdowns, 10 yards a carry. Really phenomenal job from Jordan Vaughn. When you're looking at the statistics of this game, it's pretty evenly matched. 21 first downs for ACU, 23 for Stephen F. Austin. Both were 50% on third down. Abilene Christian was 0 for 1 on fourth down. Stephen F. Austin did not attempt one. Total yards, 500, 419. 500 for Stephen F. Austin, 419 for Abilene Christian. Passing yards, Stephen F. Austin had 357. Abilene Christian had 208. Rushing yards, Abilene Christian had 211. Stephen F. Austin had 145, so not super strong in the run game. Penalties, Stephen F. Austin almost had 100 yards of penalties. They had 10 for 93. Abilene Christian had 6 for 50. And then time of possession, Abilene Christian dominated time possession by with 34 minutes of time of possession, and Stephen F. Austin had 26. These are two really closely related, really close teams. Like, the teams are close and competition level. There's not one team that's significantly better than the other, and that showed in the field in the play. And the slight mistake from Stone Earl ended up being the difference. But Sam Vidlak, phenomenal job, man. Phenomenal job. It was the battle of two QBs from Texas schools, and Sam Vidlac won the duel. Seems like Stephen F. Austin was able to push the ball down the field a little bit better than Abilene Christian. And that was one of the differences in the game, too. The ability to throw the ball down the field for Sam Vidlac and Stephen F. Austin. Abilene Christian struggled doing that a bit. And, you know, it rang true in this game. How will Stephen F. Austin fare against a very dominant Montana State squad? We will get into that on Thursday. I mentioned the turnover. This was clearly a game between two teams who are close in competition level. Looking at the stats, it's hard to differentiate the two. I mentioned that too. Just a good win for Stephen F. Austin. They're a program who's on the up and up. They got a really good quarterback, and that's really the key in FCS football. If you got a quarterback, you can really do a lot with a really good quarterback. You can make it work with the. You got to have a good quarterback and good offensive play caller. But like with the defense, you know, you can make it work. With the special teams, you can make it work with the talent around them. If you got a good quarterback who knows how to get the ball into his receiver's hands, as long as they can catch, you can do something with that. And Stephen F. Austin has that. They have much more than just having a quarterback. They got a running back. They got a really good defense. They got a lot of pieces around it as well. But it starts with the quarterback for me and the head coach, and they got them both. This game ended up being a shootout too. And in the regular season, Stephen F. Austin, it was a one-score game in the regular season too. Stephen F. Austin lost 28-20 in the regular season. They win 41-34 in the postseason, and every single point was necessary. But really good win for Stephen F. Austin. They go face the number 2 seed Montana State Bobcats in Bozeman on Friday night. It's going to be a phenomenal game. I cannot wait to watch it. You guys let me know what you think about this game in the comment. You guys let me know what you thought about this game in the comment section down below, and I will move on. Okay, Tarleton State got the big time victory in the second round of the FCS playoffs against North Dakota, and it's what I've been saying all week. It's what I've been saying leading up to this game. It's what I've been saying talking about this North Dakota team for the back half of the season. Their offense is not doing enough to help them. And Jerry Kaminsky, I had a tweet that I tweeted out last week saying, you know, Jerry Kaminsky's second half of the season fall off needs to be looked into. I deleted it because I felt like it was a little harsh on Jerry Kaminsky. So I don't know what injuries he's dealing with. I don't know what he's going through off the field, and I don't want these players to think that, you know, I'm on their head or anything like that. But Jerry Kaminsky has not played great ball in the second half of the season, to say the least. And the North Dakota offense has not really played really good ball in the second half of the season, and it's been the reason why they can't win games. It's been the reason why they haven't been able to win their tough games. When they need it the most, their offense they haven't been able to put it together. They've needed it a lot throughout the season, and unfortunately, they just haven't been able to make it happen. Tarleton State played a really, really good game. Victor Gabalis, 15-25, 60% completion percentage. Would love his completion percentage to be a little bit higher, but 292 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Tylen Hines, 28 carries, 120 yards, 4.3 yards a carry. And then Marquise Willis, 4 receptions, 133 yards, and 1 touchdown, 33.3 yards a catch. The Tarleton State offense was able to make some big plays in this game when they needed to. Victor Gabalis had some big throws in this game. North Dakota's defense ultimately kept the game within reach. Like, they kept it close. They only lost 31-13. So, like, they only lost by 2 to 3 scores. 3 scores really making it 18 points, but like, they're right there. They're not far away. You know, they're within reach. They can grab it almost, you know, they can reach out and like, oh, I can touch it, but they can't get there. And they lost the game for it. But like much of the back half of the season, their defense didn't carry their end of the bargain. I put their defense, but it's their offense. Their offense didn't carry their end of the bargain. I don't know why I'm adjusting this because I'm talking about it right now, but their offense didn't carry their end of the bargain. It's been something to watch, man. When you really look back on it and you think in hindsight, North Dakota's offense never was super, super strong. They made plays when they needed to make plays at times. But when I'm really looking back on it now, their offense was never a huge strength. One strength that they had was Jerry Kaminsky being able to use his legs and run the ball. And then another thing that Jerry Kaminsky was doing really, really well was he was taking care of the ball. You know, he wasn't turning it over. He wasn't losing them possessions. And that was really one of the biggest things about it. Later on in the season, he did not do that. Even in yesterday's game, he did not do that. He had 2 interceptions in the game. He was 11 for 28, so under 50% completion percentage for only 112 yards. The run game, they only had 136 yards on the ground. It just wasn't a strong offensive game. Credit to Tarleton State's defense for being able to keep them under. They made life hard for North Dakota, and that is ultimately what gets them into the quarterfinals. This was another ugly game for Jerry Kaminsky. Turnovers have hurt him a lot this season. He was really clean early on in the season, and that's the big reason why they were winning. Their offense isn't good enough to give teams free possessions. I said this whole entire video. You pay double for turnovers in the playoffs, and Jerry Kaminsky is another example of that. You cannot especially when your offense isn't great. You can't give good offenses and good teams free possessions. A team like Tarleton State that has a phenomenal offense, a really good quarterback, you can't give them free possessions. And for yourself, as the North Dakota offense, you can't give up possessions. That's just going to put you behind the 8 ball. That's just, you don't score consistently enough as it is. So to give up possessions is just, you're working counterproductive to trying to get the win in this game. Tarleton State dominated the time possession over North Dakota. Tarleton State didn't even run the ball like crazy in this game, but they were able to hit big plays in the passing game, and all that made all the difference. Tarleton State only had 145 rushing yards in this game, comparatively to North Dakota's 136, but it was the turnovers. I think Tarleton State had 1 turnover. North Dakota had 2. Time of possession, Tarleton State dominated. Tarleton State had more first downs. They had more total yards. They had more passing yards, more rushing yards. On third down, they were a little better. Neither team was great on third down, but Tarleton State was 2 for 2 on fourth down. Statistically, it's not going to blow you away. Tarleton State did have 430 total yards, 292 through the air. That's really good from Victor Gabales. He hit some big plays. Like I said, some big plays down the field, which was the biggest difference. But credit to them, man. North Dakota had a good defense. They make plays when they need to make plays. But in the end, Tarleton State was able to make more plays and get the victory when they needed to. And really, they really beat this North Dakota team up. It was like 27. It was like 24-7 or 31-7 late. North Dakota got into the end zone. They didn't allow North Dakota's defense. I said they kept it close, like they were able to keep them attached because they didn't get necessarily blown out. Yes, Tarleton State put up 31, but for most of the game, there was still a chance where if North Dakota could get the offense going, there was a chance for them to start rolling and start putting some points on the board, but they were never able to. So credit to Tarleton State's defense for doing that. Tarleton State will move on and play, pulling up the bracket right now, excuse me. Tarleton State will move on to play Villanova at home in the quarterfinals of the FCS playoffs. So we will talk about that on Thursday. Make sure you guys tune in for that. But to finish my last thoughts on this North Dakota team as they finish their 2025 season, North Dakota doesn't have a ton of big-time playmakers on the outside besides BJ Fleming, and it seems like that was something that showed up late in the season for them. The lack of playmakers on the outside for this North Dakota football team. Nobody really able to win downfield. They're able to key in on BJ Fleming, put double coverage on BJ Fleming. If you don't have any other playmakers on the outside that are really going to hurt you, that's trouble. That spells trouble, and that's what I saw from North Dakota. Tarleton State has a very real chance not only to get into the semifinals, but to Nashville. We will see what they do next week. They got the semifinals still. There's a lot of football to be played, but Tarleton State has a good chance to make it to Nashville. Tarleton State, last point about this team, Tarleton State has been on the cusp, has been a team on the cusp, and they look to be in prime position to potentially make some big things happen. And now the talk is going to be, if Tarleton State makes a deep playoff push, maybe if they win the national championship, what does that look like for Tarleton State going to the FBS? There'll probably be a lot of suitors trying to take a good, attractive Tarleton State team up to the FBS in the CUSA, in the Sun Belt, maybe in the Missouri Valley. There's been a lot of whispers throughout the last couple of years about Tarleton State moving up. We will see. They got a lot of money. They play good ball. They're down in Texas. You know Texas loves their football, so we will see. But you guys let me know what you thought about this Tarleton State North Dakota game. Credit to Tarleton State. They made it into the playoffs last year and got some good wins. This year they won they didn't win the UAC, but they got a seed, the top 4 seed. They got the bye, and they are moving up and moving on. So we will see what Tarleton State looks like. But you guys let me know what you think about that in the comment section down below, and I will move on. Okay, the last game I would like to talk about is the Villanova versus Lehigh game. I thought this game would be close, and this game delivered everything I thought it would be. 14-7, Villanova got the victory in the second round of the FCS playoffs. Credit to the Villanova, I don't even know their mascot, Wildcats. Credit to the Villanova Wildcats for getting the victory. Pat McQuaid played a good game. The run game for Villanova was not there, which is very different than what Villanova did last week. Villanova ran the ball for over 300 yards last week. They leaned on their run game. Who did Villanova even beat last week? Why am I always going blank on who the hell they beat last week? Villanova beat Harvard last week, and they ran the ball all over the place. I think they had over 300 rushing yards on the ground. They had a really good game. Pat McQuaid had a big game in that game as well. They just looked really, really good. They imposed their will on Harvard. This week, obviously, Lehigh is a very, very good defensive team. And when you look at the stats, it's hard to differentiate. Obviously, Lehigh, when you look at the stats, you may think that Lehigh won this game. Lehigh was a little bit better on third down. Lehigh had 21 first downs. They were over 2 on first down. Both teams were 0% on fourth down. They had more total yards. They didn't have more passing yards, but they had more rushing yards. They were consistent with it on the ground. That is what Lehigh has done all season, is run the ball, stop the run, play good defense. They didn't have a ton of penalties, but you know where Lehigh made the mistakes? Lehigh had 2 fumbles, and you pay double for turnovers in the playoffs. We've mentioned turnovers in every game we've recapped this week. That is a big key to winning and losing FCS playoff football games. Any level of football, winning and losing the game in the playoffs is highly predicated on turning over the ball. We saw an outlier in the Illinois State versus North Dakota State game. They turned it over 5 times and still won, but that doesn't happen very often. In this game, Lehigh was within a score of being able to potentially win this game, and they lost because they turned it over twice. They dominated time of possession, 33 minutes to Villanova's 26. But Villanova made the plays when they needed to, and that's what it comes down to in this game. Villanova made just one more play than Lehigh did, and man, I feel for Lehigh because they've been in the playoffs multiple times in the last few years. They ran the table in the regular season, and the first game they play in the playoffs, they lose. I mean, damn, man. And that's the thing that doesn't bode well for the Patriot League and doesn't look good ultimately for the Patriot League is because this is the talk. People don't want Patriot League teams to get a first round bye because there's probably a Missouri Valley team that probably could have taken that bye. There's probably Rhode Island that probably could have taken that bye. But Lehigh earned it. They beat all the teams on their schedule. They earned a first round bye. You could say the same about Tennessee Tech. I think Tennessee Tech's strength of schedule was even worse than Lehigh's. But Lehigh ended up being a really good Patriot League team, but ultimately that's it. It was a low-scoring game, and no one really dominated, but Nova made enough plays in the end to win it. Lehigh's rushing defense ended up being exactly what they say they are. Villanova was unable to run the ball in this game. And credit to Villanova for being able to get the win because 27 rushing yards, obviously it's sack-adjusted rushing yards. They probably have more like 60, 70 rushing yards on the ground. But still, under 100 rushing yards, you win a playoff game where your quarterback only throws for 200 as well. It's the turnovers. It's the lack of turnovers. When they were clean with the ball, they don't necessarily have to play their best game. They don't necessarily have to play out of their mind with Lehigh's turnovers, with Lehigh giving them free possessions. There's going to be a mistake that you're going to make that's going to put us in prime position to put points on the board, and that's exactly what happened in favor of Villanova. Both teams were really bad on third down. Lehigh had two turnovers in this game, and that was the difference. We talked about it. If you were to look at the stats in this game without the score, you may think Lehigh won. Did Villanova win this game, or did Lehigh lose this game? I would say I had written in my notes that Villanova had won this game. I said Villanova won, but they didn't win it decisively. I think I'm going to change that and say Lehigh lost this game because just doing some more looking into the numbers, doing some more looking at the game, looking back at it, it's like, man, Lehigh really lost this game. Villanova won it. The reason I wanted to say Villanova won it because despite them not playing super well offensively, despite their stats not looking crazy, they still won the game. So despite what Lehigh was doing successfully defensively, despite all the things that they had playing in their favor, Villanova was still able to take the win. I think it's kind of part A, part B. You know, Lehigh lost it a little bit, but Villanova also took it out of the jaws of Lehigh. This was a low-scoring, close type of game I expected to see out of these teams. I think that's what I talked about in my preview on Thursday. I thought that this was going to be a pretty close game. I thought these were two pretty evenly matched teams that I thought would come down to the margins, turnovers, and that's exactly what happened. Villanova will have a tall task when they face Tarleton in the quarterfinals. Villanova has had a decently easy path to get to the quarterfinals. They dominated Harvard, and they beat down a good but Patriot League Lehigh team. Lehigh is another example of a good teams from lesser conferences that just end up being mid-tier teams in the end. Unfortunately, that's what the talk is going to be about them. Villanova's run game in their 2 playoff games has been night and day. In their first game, they leaned on the run game and rushed for over 300 yards. In their second game, they couldn't run the ball to save their lives. I don't know what's going on. Let's talk about the stats, and then we'll move on and be done. Pat McQuaid was 18 for 28, 64 yards, 208 yards to the air, 64% completion, not 64 yards, 64% completion, 208 yards, and a touchdown. Jabril Mace had 11 carries, 48 yards, 1 touchdown, 4.4 yards a carry. Like I said, not great on the ground. Hayden Johnson, the quarterback for Lehigh, had 12 for 20, 60% completion percentage, 161 yards. And then Luke Yoder, one of the top players on that Lehigh squad, had 11 carries, 80 yards, and 7.3 yards a catch. So not a terrible game for some of the pieces from Lehigh, but they just didn't do enough offensively. That's what it comes down to. Although you were able to run the ball, you weren't able to make enough plays in the end to win this game. So Villanova moves on. Lehigh is taking her early vacation after winning the Patriot League champs outright. They've had a phenomenal season. They finished 12-1, so the record looks good, but that one, man. Credit to them. Credit to Villanova for moving on. It is going to be an exciting quarterfinals week. You guys let me know what you thought about this Villanova Lehigh game in the comment section down below, and I will move on.
Drink a beer and support a Grizz athlete. DraftWorks is a longtime favorite of beer enthusiasts across the Treasure State, and DraftWorks has created a sessionable, delicious lager that donates part of every sale to the name, image, and likeness efforts at the University of Montana. Up with Montana Lager is a crisp, effervescent beer that pours pale straw in color and greets you with an inviting malty aroma. And it's crafted with Grizz athletes in mind. If you're headed to the tailgate or stocking up to watch football, give back to the NIL Collective at the University of Montana by drinking Up with Montana Lager, proudly created by DraftWorks Brewing.
Okay, I want to thank you guys so much for tapping into the channel. I appreciate you guys for giving me some views. I appreciate you guys for supporting the channel. The playoffs have been amazing. I will be out of town for the semifinals, so we will talk about that next week as we get closer to that, but I'll be out of town for the semifinals. I'm going on my honeymoon, so I won't be doing a video. I won't even be, like live commenting on the game. I will be in Cancun with my feet kicked up, probably with a drink in my hand. So that is coming up very, very soon. I'm very, very excited, but I'm very, very excited about these playoffs as well. So keep tuning in with me. We'll keep dropping the content as we can. I'll drop some videos leading up to the semifinals because we leave the week of the semifinals. So I'll drop my preview of the semifinals when we get there. It's only going to be 2 games, so I won't have to talk about a ton, but I'll give my thoughts, and then you guys won't hear from me mostly that weekend. And then Christmas week is when we get back to the States, and we'll be in Houston for that. So just giving you guys kind of an idea of what's going on in the next couple of weeks. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you guys for viewing the channel. Make sure you guys share this with a friend. Somebody who wants to know what's going on in FCF football, let them know Akem'S Analysis is talking about it all. So I appreciate you guys. This video and Akem'S Analysis is always brought to you by Sportsbet Montana, the Montana's exclusive sportsbook. Go check out Sportsbook Montana for Sportsbet Montana. Gosh, my goodness. Sportsbet Montana. This video has been brought to you by Sportsbet Montana, the exclusive sports book for the state of Montana. Make sure you guys go check out Sportsbet Montana for all your sports betting needs. Sportsbet Montana is the exclusive betting partner of Akem'S Analysis and the Sam the Akem YouTube channel. So make sure you guys go get in on the action. Your game, your bets, your state, powered by the Montana Lottery. I will catch you guys next week. See you later. Actually, later this week on Thursday, I'll catch you guys for the preview. So tune in and let me know your thoughts down below. Catch you guys later.